Welcome back to the Black Swan Capitalist channel. I'm Vandell, and today we have a very special guest with us. We're honored to have you, Robert Kiyosaki. Thank you very much. And Versan's just going to give a brief intro of Robert, even though you all know him.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to welcome our distinguished guest, Robert Kiyosaki, who really needs no introduction, but I must insist on one. Robert Kiyosaki is a renowned Japanese-American entrepreneur, businessman, and author. He's the visionary founder behind the Rich Dad Company and the Rich Dad Radio podcast, which I listen to every time there's a new episode, and the brilliant mind behind the world's best-selling book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. His remarkable contributions have transformed the landscape of personal finance and business education, making a very positive impact on countless lives worldwide. So it's truly a privilege to have you here with us today, Robert. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Andy Schekman said I had to get on your program. So whatever Andy Schekman says, I follow. So anyway, I'm honored to be on your program.
He's fantastic. Yeah. And we're grateful. So thank you. Thank you, Robert.
So my first question, you guys, is that as we were chatting before we came on air, you guys found education here in the States lacking or disappointing. Would you mind clarifying, because that's my hot button, is how bad our education is. Would you mind telling me what you found lacking or not satisfactory?
So to be frank, there's actually quite a few things. It's not just one thing. First of all, we've been in the education system in the British curriculum, and then as well as in the US. We were in the Middle East studying abroad, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and coming to the US specifically for university, or should I say college, was actually something that we got into, spent some time doing our work and our classes. And then as our eyes begin to open and we start to understand that a lot of what we were learning is not applicable in the real world for the most part, especially business, for example, investing, finance, it was mostly theoretical. We started to really connect the dots, and it opened our eyes that this entire education system that they're strongly pushing for the youth to get into and enroll in university and college is a fraud. That's the truth. And it's not just an opinion. There's data to back this up, but they don't want people to know about it. Some people figure it out and they skip it, and some people get in and they realize, okay, I can do better outside of here instead of wasting time. So one of them is the amount of debt it puts students in. Now, that's just a big one, we're in a debt-based system, but they're actually locking you in for debt for almost the rest of your life. Right. Doesn't matter whether you're going to school to be a doctor or a lawyer, right. You're stuck with that forever, and that's just one aspect of it. But the other thing is the theoretical aspect. So I think a trade school is even more valuable than a university degree, because at least you're learning something practical that can put to use immediately in the real world. So you have all these students now in college studying liberal arts, things like that, and they're thinking they're going to get a job immediately because that's what they're promised by the education system, will help you facilitate a job, things of that nature. And then they get out. It's a shame, but they get out and they figure out, okay, this is not as easy as they made it sound. And it doesn't work out. And that's why there's a high percentage of people that have business degrees that are working as bartenders. There's a reason for that, Right. And I'm not downplaying any type of degree or hating in any sense, but that's just a fact. And we realized that early on, and we thought, okay, I'm actually learning more about business from watching and reading books from Robert Kiyosaki, Warren Buffett, and different entrepreneurs such as Jim Rickards than I am in my business classes. It's an education system of its own if you know where to look for the right information. And everything I learned back then, besides my mentors, what they taught me, I put to use and was able to achieve success in, different ventures at a young age. Robert.
Well, I agree, because the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is my rich dad was a man who never went to school. And I'm fourth generation Japanese American. and growing up in Hawaii. And so my rich dad, his father died when he was 13. He'd take over the family business. He was my best friend's father. And my real dad, poor dad, was the head of education for Hawaii. He ultimately got a PhD from Stanford, went to University of Chicago, Northwestern, and he was a hard advocate for, should I say, education for the university systems, whereas Rich Dad attended seminars. And so it's kind of interesting being this kid, 10-year-old kid. And my rich dad, my poor dad is saying, look at how stupid your best friend's father is, Rich Dad. He goes to seminars and he doesn't even get a college degree. I'm going, well, maybe he doesn't need one. When I was a young kid, I was not confused, but just noticing there are two different attitudes towards education in the world. And I tend to agree with you. The University of Hawaii will take anybody. If you fog a mirror, they'll take you. Yet they rejected me because my grades were so bad and all that. But nonetheless, I still get nominations to Naval Academy, Merchant Marine Academy. I accepted the Merchant Marine Academy in New York. And it's not that I'm stupid. I had bad grades. From there, I flew these in Vietnam. And they don't care what your grades are, because how many people can you shoot at once? And so it just became education of doing versus theory. I feel the student loan debt is the biggest heist I've ever seen. It is the number one asset of America today. And of course, that was brought to you by President Barack Obama, who's also from Hawaii. And he's not a poor black kid. He was a rich black kid who went to Punahou School in Hawaii. And I couldn't afford to go to Punahou. So this bullshit that he teaches, it's so fake. It makes me sick. But I am a U.S. Marine, and I'll say what I think. I don't like that.
I support that.
I don't like Marxists. We shot a lot of communists, killed a lot of them, airstrikes all over the place. I went down 3 times in Vietnam, and I'd do it again, man. I loved it. I loved fighting. You don't learn to fly reading a textbook. Let me tell you something. I went to school in New York, graduated in 1969, and I went to flight school in Pensacola, Florida. I got my wings, and I thought I was a pretty good pilot. Then they ship you out to Camp Pendleton, California, next stop, Vietnam. And then you go into advanced guns. And it's a lesson I learned from my rich dad. He says, always look for the best teacher. So while I'm at Camp Pendleton, these young, where most pilots are about 24, 25 years old. And these guys are coming back from Vietnam. And I'm inquiring, who's the best? Who's the best? Who's the best? And I said, the best pilot, this guy, Captain Forrester. I said, that guy can fly. He can shoot. He's got more air medals. He's got more decorations than anybody. He's fearless. So I walked up. I'm a little buck lieutenant. And I go up to Captain Forrester. And I said, teach me. And Forrester took me out. He taught me. I thought I knew how to fly up till then. But Forrester took me through the paces. I mean, how much you don't know, how much I didn't know as a pilot was shocking. And I'm alive today because I sought out the best teacher. And this guy, Forrester, put me through the paces. So like when I tell people I went down 3 times, they go, oh, big deal, So, well, most pilots only go down once. They don't come back. It's because of great teachers I'm alive today. So as Rich Dad and this guy, Captain Forrester, and tremendous respect for education, but I have very low respect for teachers.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
I think one of the significant factors talking about education and Barack Obama is the pervasive influence over predictive programming through mainstream news propaganda. And it's really, I think, also the manipulation and consequences of historical developments like Project Mockingbird, if you've heard of that. It was a clandestine operation by Barack Obama, which involved government agencies that aim to control media narratives. And we don't know the extent of its influence, but it's clear that those endeavors have certainly played a role in distorting facts and shaping public perception.
Yeah, Obama was the guy that made student loan debt, took it to new heights. And like today, as Andy Schectman will always say, Student loan debt's the number one asset of America today. It's our biggest income source. So we've had to, because our debt is so high, they claim it's 32 trillion. It's really about 250 trillion when you include all the problems and things inside there. But I'm not blaming Obama for that, but it's because Americans don't protest. You know, how dare we put young people in debt for the rest of their lives? And you guys said it, there's no debt worse than student loan debt. You know, I'm $1 billion in debt because I use debt to buy real estate. But the real estate pays off my debt. But to have 1.8 trillion in student loan debt, we've now screwed our kids. If that's a criminal clandestine operation, I just can't believe Americans are so freaking naive. They don't say something about it. How dare they do that to our kids?
I agree with you, Robert. And can I add something? Another thing that's really a shame is they're still enrolling kids into these education systems, college. With AI becoming a thing, artificial intelligence, this shift we're going through, the fourth industrial revolution, a lot of the jobs that these students are studying for in university and getting degrees for are not going to be around in the next 10 years. That's extremely shocking, you know?
And the biggest hemorrhaging will be teachers. I'm working with a company out of Dallas that does AI for education because, you know, we've all got to stay ahead of everything. Unemployment is going to go through the roof is what we're saying. And then you're going to see the national debt of America go through the roof. I wrote this book a while ago with this guy, Ted Siddell, who stole my pension, you know. And if any of you have parents with pensions, I'd get them that book, Who Stole My Pension, because Wall Street has ripped off our pensions like we've never seen. And some of the biggest criminals are in Biden's staff. It's funny.
Agreed. Yeah. What's interesting is this actually ties us into, you know, what we really also need to talk about is the current global economic landscape. It's posing significant challenges for the United States and the rest of the world. We have insolvency concerns in the banking system, coupled with rising inflation and a weakening currency that is no longer in demand as it used to be. These are indeed areas of concern. So, you know, on the global economic landscape right now, what is your take on all of this and where do you see this going? Because we have a lot of developments about to unfold this month. So,
well, I'm a U.S. Marine and we don't mince our words. It's time you bend over and pick up the soap because you're going to get fucked.
Hopefully everybody heard that, right?
You know, like I love the Texas area. I live in Arizona. But Rich Dad Poor Dad was turned down by every New York publisher. Editors, this is back in, what year was that now? Anyway, they turned it down saying, when it comes to money, you don't know what you're talking about. And the trouble with these New York book publishers like Simon & Schuster and Random House and all that, they're all academic A students, if you know what I mean. To be an editor, you have to be pretty academically savvy. What I did then was I put my book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in a car wash in Austin, Texas. And this guy named Bill Galvin from Dallas picked it up. And, you know, I had 1,000 copies of the book. They weren't selling at all. Nobody wanted the book. And this was 96, 97. He says, hey, this is Bill Galvin from Dallas. I said, how you doing, Bill? He says, how many books you got? I said, I got 1,000. He says, you want some? He says, I'll take all 1,000 of them. I said, well, who the F are you, right? You know, I mean, are you Barnes & Noble? Are you Borders Bookstore? Are you Amazon? He says, no, I'm a diamond with the Amway Corporation. We teach capitalism. And so Amway picked up my book, and that book magically went all over the world, worldwide, without the book system. For those who are entrepreneurs, go with your heart, go with what you know, and know there's a market for whatever you're going to say out there or do. But because of Amway, my book went worldwide, and then the booksellers, you know, oh, can we sell your book? Can we sell your book? Well, we didn't need to because we found an alternative distribution system. I mean, you guys know in business, right?
Yep.
It's a systems of distribution, what you need. So that's what I love about capitalism. is that there's a will, there's a way.
It's true.
Absolutely. You're right about that.
Yeah. Talking about capitalism too. The dynamics are really shifting out here in the States. Like we mentioned earlier, I have two phone repair stores and we get all our merchandise from China. They are raising fees on us. They're raising taxes on us. They're making supply chains actually, there is a shock in supply chains still that people are not talking enough about. We are actually experiencing shortages on some parts for phones. Entrepreneurs right now, they have to kind of evolve to the landscape and try to navigate with AI and, of course, basic understanding of finance, digital assets, and maybe then they can move forward with their new way of entrepreneurship. Businesses the way they are today being the same, if that makes sense. I see a lot of changes happening in consolidation, global corporate governance takeover in a sense. That's what I'm starting to feel. I'm trying to understand exactly what businesses are going to look like later on.
AI is going to wipe out, especially teachers. So that's why I'm working with a company out of Dallas in education. But also the supply chain is knocking down all over the world. Demand is dropping because they're shutting down the regional banks, which means there's no credit. Money flows from the Fed into the big banks, and then it flows down to the small regional banks. Without the small regional banks, there's no money entering the system. And when they cut off credit, no money enters the system, so it's drying up. So on the macro level, you have the whole thing going crazy, but on the micro level, mom and pop can't afford anything because their credit cards are maxed out. Silicon Valley is laying off tens of thousands of people. Rickards was talking about, Jim, the unemployment has just started. Now, is that good news or bad news? If you're an entrepreneur, this is good news. And that's the attitude of an entrepreneur. Always an opportunity. I'm in the process of I'm going to start my own network marketing company. And that's the power of being an entrepreneur. It doesn't slow you down at all. I just started with a company. And that game behind me is a cash flow board game that came out in '96. That's how I learned. I learned about investing playing Monopoly, 4 greenhouses, 1031 tax deferred exchange, Red Hotels. So I own Red Hotels. I own 15,000 rental units. And so we created this board game. And so when the economy gets bad, board game sales go up. So entrepreneurs don't think like stupid professors. In many schools, elementary schools across America, you can be a bad teacher and they'll just put you in a rubber room for 8 hours a day. They pay you not to teach. That's how corrupt the educational system is. And that's because it's run by the NEA, National Education Association, the largest labor union in America. Those are the guys that got Barack Obama elected, the teachers unions. NEA also stands for National Extortion Association. And so our whole thing is run by communists because labor unions are communist. That's why in 1965, I went to the academy. I had to read this book here, the Communist Manifesto.
Oh, yes.
It's only 50 pages. Every school teacher should read this to find out that if you're a professor, you're a communist. If you belong to a labor union, you're a communist, because that's what all those things that Marx perfected. If you pay taxes, this is what Marx said about taxes. A heavier progressive income tax is necessary for the spread of communism, Karl Marx. So guys like me, I make millions of dollars. I don't pay taxes legally. I'm a capitalist. I'm not a communist.
There's this saying from Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba.
Right.
And I think he said something along the lines. He mentioned something where his dad used to tell him, hey, I want you to not get straight A's in school because a lot of times the straight A students end up working for the B and D students, something along those lines. That's kind of interesting because true.
My book is why A students work for C students. I didn't like school, as you can tell.
I thought it was a joke for a while.
Yeah. You were ahead of your time.
Yeah, we were in a British curriculum. And when you switch from the British curriculum to the Western school system, you start to really see real fast what's going on here.
Right.
And they are just taking everyone in a different direction intentionally.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's why this was my last book here. It was called the Capitalist Manifesto. But look at how much this book is 50 pages. This is how much I had to write just to counter the damage done by this book here. Wow. And as I said to you, this is in 1965, I had to read this book here, went to the academy. Military officers are trained differently. And when I was flying this in Vietnam, shooting communists all day long, I thought I died and went to heaven.
Well, hey, you might have an opportunity very soon to come back to the fight again, because something's brewing. You know, something is brewing, and we can all anticipate it. Not to mention, Vandell, there's actually a video I want to share. Robert, I think you'll find this interesting. This just came out, and of course, it got no media coverage, but this is important, and we'll kind of discuss it here in a second. Listen to this.
Biden is the legitimate president, but he's the legitimate president of what is now the bankrupt U.S. corporation. And that was a treaty in 1871. Well, on September 12th, 2018, Trump created an executive order. Within that, he outlined in future elections any kind of foreign or domestic interference, specifically for the 2020 election. So we say, how did he know some of these things were going to happen? Election integrity on both sides of the aisle is tough. And the thing is that, I sit on a task force at the Department of Defense. And the thing is, they've got the goods. They've got the goods. And Trump knew that if he presented any of the goods early on, we'd have a civil war. That he really felt that the people needed to see how bad it could get.
I think that was a very powerful statement.
I don't know what you're saying.
Well, basically that the Biden administration has certainly been involved. We're familiar with what they've been involved in, all this corruption. There's a lot of things we can't discuss because of censorship. They have the goods on the Biden administration, and Trump could not reveal that information back in 2020 because it would take the country into a civil war as a result of, there's such a divide amongst the people. This division that we see in the country today, it seems that's being orchestrated.
He's a very good man. We're both hunters. I mean, all three of us are hunters. So we spent time on deserted islands all over the world hunting. There's no, it's just no running water. We had to pack in our water, pack in our food, as compared to Hunter Biden, who's obviously, the FBI loses his computer. What has happened to this country with the FBI? I can't trust the FBI. You guys are afraid of being shut down. That was Twitter. So thank God Elon Musk bought it to bring some capitalism back into Twitter. So we're fighting back slowly but surely. Politics is a really dirty, dirty, dirty game. And I just don't like to get into it. He said, she said. So I kind of just not pay attention to what they say. I just watch what they do.
Right.
And I can tell you this much about Biden. He's a criminal, because I watched what he did. His first act. What was his first act? You know what it was? Keystone Pipeline. The moment he did that, cut off the Keystone Pipeline from Canada to America, under Trump, my friend here, I was selling oil. And oil was being sold. My oil wells were in Louisiana, Texas, and North Dakota. I was selling oil for $30 a barrel. The moment Biden came online and cut off the pipeline, oil went from $30 to $130 a barrel. I think today is about 80 or 70 a barrel. But that caused inflation, and that wiped out mom and pop and all this. So Biden intentionally cut out all those Green New Deals, guys, ESG, environmental, social governance, diversity, inclusion, equity, spells die.
All that stupid stuff.
And all of this stuff, they're intentionally killing us. This is the rule of thumb I say to you guys. I don't listen to what people say. I watch what they do. And what Biden is doing is criminal. So you can take me down for that, but cutting off the Keystone pipeline, he didn't have to do that. And he's selling oil out of the strategic reserves and all this. And so you guys are from Saudi Arabia, and that's where the BRICS are joining up against us: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia. I mean, do you realize the two biggest oil producers in the world now going against us, Russia and Saudi Arabia?
Yep.
You know, the two biggest nuclear powers are Russia and China going against America. All of this is because of Biden. Just watch what he's done.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. And
I'm so sorry. Real quick, Vandell. Yeah, and the reason this is so concerning, though, is because, you know, forget the alleged corruption, but the weaponization of government agencies against its own citizens. This is really like his administration. It was the start of potentially leading the United States down a path toward a totalitarian technocracy. And, you know, that's where the concern is. What are the implications for America's future? Because, like you said, it's the young people and the older people. They don't stand up anymore. They don't protest. So
everybody's talking about the next football game and just so distracted with stupid TV shows. And don't get me wrong, we all love entertainment, but it's really taking people's eyes off what's going on, and it's affecting them, their families, their lifestyle, their standard of living, and it's going to affect their kids even worse. And like you said, Robert, with the Keystone, when they cut that off, the pipeline, that was just like the first domino to really create significant inflation in this country and hardship for the average citizen, because that money used to go back into the economy, to businesses, spending it on things families need. But instead, now they have to cut down on that because they got to spend more on gas. See what I mean? So it's like this domino effect, you know, and then now you got inflation just significantly rising on top of that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. My background is oil too. I went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy in New York. I was a tanker officer, and I drove tankers for Standard Oil of California. So, and that's why, as an investor, I don't invest in stocks. I don't invest in no paper, no stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. I invest in the hard asset. So I invest in oil. And so when under Trump, it was being pumped at $30 a barrel. So I was happy with that. But I went to 130. I went, oh my God, I'm getting richer. But Biden is crushing the economy. So if we get taken down for that, I'm not saying that's what he did. That was his first act. His next act was to take down the wall so fentanyl could come through and sex trafficking could come through. Watch what the man did or is doing rather than what they're saying. And that's why I didn't understand what they were talking about. I'm going, I'm out, you know?
Yeah. Well, it seems like they're putting, right now they're trying to create a situation by weaponizing the monetary system, not just against the world, but also the people, weaponizing the food industry, the pharmaceuticals, in order to, how do I say this? They're trying to put us in a situation where people become so dependent on the system that they're trying to introduce. And that's the way I see it. So this kind of ties us into, sorry, please.
I hate to agree with you, but I agree with you. Watch what they do, not what they're saying. I'm sure your demographics are young also.
Yes.
Don't pay attention to words. Pay attention to actions.
Right.
You'll be a lot happier, you know. You won't get sucked into he said, she said, they said, who said.
Agreed.
So, hey, Robert, I want to ask you this. It ties into the economy. Okay. So I know you're close with Jim Rickards. He has a fantastic book that I read a while back called The Road to Ruin. Okay. He specifically talks about the banking crisis, okay, the next one that's going to come, and how there's this thing called an ICE 9 bank freeze, where a bank freeze will be put into place with all banks, and you won't be able to use ATMs. Stock market will be frozen. And there's a group that Barack Obama, along with G20 leaders, formed after the 2014 Cyprus banking crisis. And that group they formed was called the Financial Stability Board. And in the Financial Stability Board, they have a template and a guideline on how to respond to the next banking crisis. So this is already a done deal. And it talks about using depositors, unsecured depositors funds, which is basically anybody with a bank account. Okay. And that's called a bail-in. Now, banks being insolvent, I mean, I just want your opinion on this. Do you think that's actually going to happen? Because my background's in banking, and based on all the data I have, I think it is going to happen.
It's very much a possibility. I agree with Jim about ICE 9 and all that. I also wrote this book here because it's been so obvious, called Rich Dad's Prophecy.
Prophecy, okay.
And once I saw, immediately right after the 2008 crash, I watched what they were doing, not what they were saying. This guy, Ben Bernanke, Fed chairman, he says, we have a thing called a printing press. And they started printing as much money as possible. And then what happened when COVID hit, they printed as much money as possible. I don't think those are mistakes. Those are intentional to flood the economy, to jack up the price of so-called assets. And then they're going to pull the rug out with who stole my pension. So you guys are young guys, but my generation, boomers, 10,000 are retiring a day. Their 401ks or IRAs, their pensions will be wiped out. And that's going to be ICE 9. They're going to have no money. The ATMs won't work, and nothing will work. Yeah. And then at that point, as you guys know, Saudi Arabia, it's martial law. We've already had martial law. So it's not ordinary time here, and that's why I sit at my desk here, and pilots carried revolvers, and the reason we carry revolvers is because if you carry a Glock, it takes two hands to rack it. So revolvers is one hand.
Faster.
You can shoot with either hand; they're more reliable. But anyway, it's time. It's time to be. Hopefully, nothing of this will happen. But are you prepared for it? Go ahead.
What's interesting is that it's undeniable that while all this is going on in the traditional banking system, governments around the world are orchestrating intricate moves behind the scenes. These are often hidden from public view, no matter how much research you do. My brother and I, we've done some rigorous research, and we've had multiple conversations with very influential figures across many hierarchies that affirm this as a fact, that governments, again, are meticulously paving the way for some sort of unified cross-border reserve currency payment settlement system. And as this is unfolding, the scenario, there's a specific technology my brother and I talk a lot about, and it's called XRP. And we see it emerging as a formidable contender to the United States reserve currency dollar because it has the liquidity potential and strategic alignment. And this technology, XRP, again, is a liquidity token, but it has the potential to face global debt head on. And it could actually be the antidote to the bank's insolvencies worldwide and level the playing field. So it could become a potential challenge to the US dollar's supremacy that would usher in this new era of international monetary dynamics. What are your thoughts on XRP? We're very objective about the whole thing, but I'm sure you have heard about XRP amongst you and your contacts, and just want to get your thoughts on it. What do you think about this technology? Is this a bankster's coin that's going to try to enslave everybody, or is it going to free us?
I'm afraid I've never heard of XRP, and I'm really old-fashioned. I own gold mines and silver mines. And
physical assets.
This is money all over the world.
100%.
This is silver. So I also have storehouses outside of America, outside the banking system. All I'm saying here is XRP might work for your generation, but for me, Bitcoin's enough. I only have 60 of them. Well, I only paid 6,000 for them. But the reason I could track it was because I took technical trading in the ups and downs of markets. So when Bitcoin came out, it climbed to 20, retraced back down, I think, to 300. Then I had to watch it. Didn't have any momentum. And when it hit 6,000, I bought 60 and I'm out. I never plan on spending it because I have caches of this stuff. This is called gold, and this is called silver, and this is called toilet paper.
You need a lot of toilet paper.
When you find out your currency is toilet paper, you're going to need more toilet paper.
I also own my own jet and different passports.
Yes.
So I'm going to run.
Well, that's a really good idea,
smart.
actually. It's a smart move. But, Vandell and I, we are huge advocates for physical ownership of precious metals. In fact, 65% of my entire portfolio is in physical gold and silver.
That's smart.
Physical. I do not like IRAs. I don't like any digital form of ETF because a lot of people come to us and they say we have IRAs, we have ETFs, gold and silver, we're hedged. I disagree. I think it's very risky with the economic uncertainties, cyber attacks. It's not real physical assets. And besides, if these elitists are embracing a digitized existence, and that's the transhumanism agenda, which they are pushing for, you can watch the World Economic Forum, then it is so important to have to not overlook the idea of physical ownership of assets, because that's what they're trying to do, is get us to relinquish it. And that's, I think, where the saying "own nothing and be happy" comes from. So
yeah, we're with you on the gold, silver,
100%.
and owning tangible assets, Robert. We do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's the best move you can make.
The point here is everybody listening, the question is, what are you doing? What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get so frustrated. I think this is the biggest bargain of all. It's silver. It's about 35 bucks for this thing. Mm-hmm. I remember I was paying $50 for this thing. Yep. So this is still undervalued, but people would still rather save this.
I know.
That's how brainwashed they are. I'm going, can't you guys see what's happening? No. I was told to save this. Well, why don't you save silver? Why don't you save XRP, Bitcoin? Why are you saving this when you know they're printing trillions of it right now? And one more thing, student loan debt, I'm making fortunes off of it. All we do is we restructure the student loan and we pay it off, and then I make about 10.25% interest on my money. So as a capitalist, you can do anything you like. But if you don't have a foundation of financial literacy and all that stuff, which is this game teaches back here, you're always trapped. And that's why I started this whole program with you. What's your education teaching you? Nothing. You're taught to get a job and work hard for this piece of toilet paper. And people will still keep working hard for a piece of toilet paper, saving toilet paper. Do you know how stupid that sounds to me? Do you know how?
Yeah, and it is. You're right, Robert. And the thing is, that's the thing with the education system. They keep you smart enough to do the job, but just dumb enough to not step out the box and question things. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
Look, I make millions. I don't pay taxes legally. So can you guys do that? That's what I do.
Not yet.
That's no, that you're
that's all education, you guys.
Definitely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So real quick. Oh, please. I'm sorry, Robert.
No, I need to run, so I'm enjoying talking to you guys. But if, like I said, what Andy Schectman recommends you it's important. But we still live in a capitalist society, and unfortunately, when you go to school, you're taught to think like a Marxist, which is why I hold this book up here. Because I would say 95% of all teachers are Marxists. Mm-hmm. They believe in labor unions. I don't believe in labor unions. They believe in taxes. I don't believe in taxes, and all that stuff here. So that's my poor dad. He was a Marxist, good man. But as you know, like economics is like a religion. There's people who are Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhists. And the trouble is people will kill somebody because they're a different religion. What was most tragic, and I think it was Myanmar, these Christians were shooting Buddhists, and I'm going, why are you killing them? Because they're Buddhists. You hate somebody because they're different than you. What the fuck is wrong with us here? So that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely right.
So it's your education. What have you been conditioned to think here? You know, because I flew this thing here. I'm glad I did. Shot a lot of people. You know, I learned a lot out there. I still remember I'd land, and I was a carrier-based pilot, so we come ashore, and I'd be in the village. This is outside of Da Nang, and I said, "Those are the VC over there, the Viet Cong." So I went over in my military outfit to go talk to the Viet Cong. I said, "How you guys doing?" I said, "Hey, yeah, how you doing?" We had tea, a couple of beers together. Said, "We'll see you back on the battlefield." Roger. And we went back to killing each other. Your crown prince out there, he's a character.
We follow the Middle East very closely, and we get updates regularly.
Yeah, so it's really a spooky time, and it's a time to think for yourself. But I think you should question what you were taught. Were you taught to get a job and work for this and pay taxes and save this? You know, and Ricketts talks about it. Not Ricketts, but Sheckman talks about it. He says money is flowing outside of the ETF. So like GLD, you know, the gold ETF. To flow money out the back door of GLD, you have to be moving 18 million at a shot.
Yeah.
So what Sheckman is talking about, it's not mom and pop who are moving $18 million worth of gold out the back door. These are major banks. So that's why this $35 today, August 22nd, is the BRICS nation. You run out and buy this. No, you'd rather save toilet paper.
No, and they don't
change. That's the problem. They're still doing as they're told. They work hard. They pay their taxes. They save toilet paper. They invest in toilet paper. And they wonder, what's going to happen to my life here? Well, you shouldn't work for toilet paper. So that's why what you guys are doing is a great job. But unless you change your education, what your mommy and daddy told you, you're probably screwed because you're going to work for this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's what George Carlin said. If you don't have a role model, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, any last words before we let you go? We really appreciate you being on here, but any last words for the audience?
No, I mean, this is really a time to start thinking for yourself, but questioning what the heck were you taught in school? Were you taught by Marxists? See, this is the first book I had to read in 1965. I went from Hawaii to school in New York. My economics teacher said, "Gentlemen, we start with this book here, the Communist Manifesto. When you read this book, you'll understand that most school teachers are communists. And when you understand that, then you question what you are taught. And when you do that, the next question is, can you change what you think? Can you stop working for this toilet paper? Or are you going to keep saving toilet paper? I mean, how many people I say to people, we're going to be a bail-in. They're going to shut the banks down. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll get my money out when that happens.
You won't be able to.
It'll be too late.
That's what I'm saying. People are so fucking lazy. They work for this stuff. They save it. And they know they're printing trillions. Why would you invest in the stock market? It's completely rigged. I own no stocks. The only stocks I own are stocks of my companies that I took public through IPOs on the New York Stock Exchange. I'm a capitalist. You know, the fast track out there is where I operate from. Most people operate in the rat race in the middle there. That's what you go to school for. So my final words are, question what you are taught. And can you change? Can you think a different thought and take different actions? Most people, the answer is no.
We're here to wake people up and spread awareness.
You got to take action, man.
Absolutely.
Action.
We're with you.
The motto of the academy I went to was Acta non verba, deeds not words. Take action, do something.
Yeah, because you can know about something, but if you're not doing anything about it, it's not making a difference.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, you're right, Robert.
All right, awesome, Robert.
Most of these people listening right now going, well, maybe they're wrong. Well, we might be wrong, but we also might be right.
And there's a higher chance we're right.
So what does it take to own couple of million in gold outside the banking system. Not much. Just move it, you know.
Yeah, take action.
So anyway, you got to be careful who your teachers are. It's like Dave Ramsey always says, live debt free. For the average person, that's really good advice. It's not my advice, though.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like I chose Captain Forrester before I went to Vietnam. And he kicked my butt as a pilot, up one side and down the other. And because of him, I'm alive today, because I had a great teacher, in my rich dad. And most people have gone through the American system, and most school teachers, as you know, are Marxists now. Why would you listen to them? They probably save money, they probably have a pension, and they're probably hoping for retirement.
What a shame. It's kind of sad, actually. It's very tragic. And this is exactly why, we tell people to listen to channels like yours as well and stay informed on everything, because, you know, time is running out and things are unfolding very fast. So maybe we should pick up this conversation again in the near future, hopefully after the BRICS, and hopefully we can have you on again. We'd love to. So.
Okay, well,
we would love to.
Take different action. Okay.
Definitely.
Don't listen to what a person's saying. Watch what they're doing. Thanks very much. Good luck to you guys.
Thank you, Robert. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.